Hare Krishna, dear devotees. You're all welcome to today's session on Gems from Srimadbhagavatam. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiriyet Shravatam Swakatha Krishna Punya Shavana Kirtanaha Hridayantasto Bhadrani Vidhunoti Suhasatam नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवतेरुत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. So today we are covering the verse from 8th canto, chapter 7, verse 8. Please join us for the invocation of this verse. Vilok Vignesha Vidhim Tadeshvaro Duranta Virya Vitathabhi Sandhihi Kritva Vapu Kachapam Adbhutam Mahat Praveshyatoyam Girim Ujjahara. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Seeing the situation that had been created by the will of the Supreme, the untimed, unlimited, powerful Lord, whose determination is infallible, took the wonderful shape of a tortoise, entered the water, and lifted the great Mandara mountain. Purport. Here is evidence that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the supreme controller of everything. As we have previously described, there are two classes of men, the demons and the demigods. But neither of them are supremely powerful. Everyone has experienced that hindrances are imposed upon us by the supreme power. The demons regard these hindrances as mere accidents or chance, but devotees accept them to be acts of the supreme ruler. When faced with hindrances, therefore devotees pray to the Lord, Tatte anukampam susamikshamano bhunjane vatmakritam vipakam. Devotees endure hindrances, accepting them to be caused by the Supreme Personality of Godhead and regarding them as benedictions. Demons, however, being unable to understand the Supreme Controller, regard such hindrances as accidental. Here, of course, the Supreme Personality of Godhead was present personally. It was by His will that there were hindrances, and by His will those hindrances were removed. The Lord appeared as a tortoise to support the great mountain. Shitir iha vibhutlatare tava tishtati prishthe. The Lord held the great mountain on His back. Keshavadhritya kurma sharira jai jagdish hare. Dangers can be created by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and they can also be removed by Him. This is known to devotees, but demons cannot understand it. Hare Krishna. Please join us in the recitation of Prabhupada Pranati so you can get blessings from the Acharyas. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gaurvani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshitarine Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langhayate girim yat kripa tadaham vande Shri Gurum dinatarinam. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. So this verse, what does it reveal to us? It's revealing Lord's framework in this material universe as his arrangement to make us realize that he is always here supporting us. Let me cover the summary for those who have joined, after some time or may have missed some part of this Lord's pastime. One day, Indra was on his elephant, not Aravat. This is before Aravat appeared, because Aravat appeared during the churning of the ocean. And the churning of the ocean hasn't begun yet in this pastime. But I'm covering the whole pastime for those who are interested in knowing, and then we'll be diving deeper. So we are first covering the breadth, then we'll dive deeper into this specific pastime where Lord appeared as Kurma. And then we'll be taking some important life lessons that we can take to our practice in our everyday life to build around how you should be seeing things in proper perspective. So Indra was on his elephant. Durvasa Muni here was, coming back after being treated very nicely by his previous Yajman, the host, and he was wearing a beautiful lotus garland of lotus flowers, and being very happy. Actually, when he was crossing the road, he saw Indra coming on his elephant. Durvasa Muni was walking as a pedestrian. He took out his garland, gave it to Indra. Now, Indra, in this mood of being arrogance, right? He had some arrogance. He was on an elephant. Durvasa Muni was walking. Sometimes we see people make such distinction. They don't consider pedestrians as important when they are in car. And what about a grand car, like a big car, a luxurious car? So Indra, not understanding what to do with the garland, instead of honoring it, he gave it to his elephant. The elephant is in a mode of ignorance. It didn't have any idea what to do, so it put the garland on the ground and smashed it with its feet. This enraged Durvasa Muni, and he immediately cursed Indra that you will lose all your opulence, all your positions, all your wealth, everything will be gone. And then, of course, Durvasa Muni left, and Indra is now in a state of shock. And that's exactly what has happened. He has lost his luster, he has lost his potency. All the demigods are similarly losing their opulence. And demons came to know that demigods are weak. They just got cursed by Durvasa Muni. And they attacked and they won. Now the demigods being defeated in the battle, they went to Lord Brahma, which is a great thing because they are approaching a Mahajana for further instructions how to continue their service. They had a specific service entrusted to them. They were doing that service, they made a mistake, and now they are trying to correct it. Lord Brahma took all of them to Kshisagar, Shirodakshai Vishnu, on the milk ocean. She refers to, in this particular case, the ocean of milk. And there, they all received instructions after they prayed to Lord Vishnu. What should we do? Lord gave them the instruction that make a truce with the demigod or with the demons. So the demigods have to now make a truce with the demons. And who is the king of the demons at this time? Bali Maharaj, yes. And what is the truce for? What's the task? Lord said that you should engage in churning of the ocean. And you would need demons' help as well because alone you cannot do it. So demigods being in this mood that, okay, Lord has given us, he has entrusted us, let's approach Bali Maharaj and the demons and request this. Now, when Indra and others, they went, Lord Brahma and Shiva also accompanied them just to show the support. Bali Maharaj, when he saw the demons coming, of course, there would be first thought is, these are the demigods coming, Indra, Vayu, Agni, Varun. And the first thought would be, these are actually my great grand uncles. They are half, again, Hiranyakashipu and Indra. They had same father, different mothers. Aditi was the mother of the demigods, the 12 Adityas. That's why Aditi, from her came Adityas. From Diti came Dityas. And Hiranyakashipu, Hiranyaksha were those two Daityas. And for Hiranyakashipu, his son is Prahlad Maharaj. Prahlad Maharaj's son was Virochana. Virochana's son is Bali Maharaj. Now, Bali Maharaj is on the side of caution because last time these demigods came and asked for some help and charity. They came in the garb of Brahmanas, dressed as Brahmanas, just like Lord Krishna, Bhima, and Arjun. They went, in the dress of Brahmana to Jarasan. But then they didn't cheat him. They said, we want a duel. We want to fight with you. But here, these demigods, when they came in the garb of Brahmana, and Virochana was very respectful, son of Bali Maharaj was very respectful to the Brahmanical culture. He said, what would you like in charity? Ask for anything. And Indra very cunningly asked for his life. And Virochana gave his life happily. Bali Maharaj was present at that time, so he remembered that incident. And now he is seeing the demigods coming for asking for something. So he's always be cautious. But then he sees Lord Brahma and Shiva supporting them. And hearing the message that this is Lord's instruction, he immediately agrees. This is quality of a great personality. That they may sometimes put their ego aside. They can put their fears aside when it comes to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his devotees, because there are two Mahajanas present, he knew that nothing wrong could happen. And so here, having agreed, they all went, and now they're coming the instructions. Sometimes you get the instructions from higher authority to step A, step 2, step 3, step 4, right? Looks like a simple instructions. And as an enterprise coach and strategist, when I try to talk about Knowin framework, it looks simple. But if you're not cautious, it simply topples over to the chaotic scenario, which actually happens in this case. What happens? That they are asked to bring Mandara mountain. And so the demigods, they try picking up Mandara mountain. They cannot pick up Mandara mountain. Demons tried, they couldn't do it. Together they tried, they couldn't do it. Lord Vishnu appeared on Garud, and simply with one hand, he lifts up Mandara mountain and places it on the shoulder of Garud. What's the example here? That what demons and demigods together could not achieve is a simple task for Garud, the king of the birds, the carrier of Lord Vishnu. And then Lord is sitting on Garud. He brings all the demigods and demons, and they all, Garud takes everyone to the place, to the ocean, where the chanting has to begin. And Lord asked Garud to leave. We covered in the last week's session where Garud, as soon as he was asked to leave, he simply bowed down his head, agreed, and left the place. Why? Because Lord knew in the presence of Garud, Vasuki could not come. Vasuki is to be used as a rope for the churning action. And Vasuki, when he arrived, as soon as the mountain is placed and the churning began, just before churning, Lord Ajita, again Lord Vishnu, is also referred to as Ajita, who is invincible. Nobody can defeat him. He is always victorious. He simply went to the head side of Vasuki, and as they are pulling, Hare Krishna, I see someone with the title iPhone. Could you please update your name? So before the chanting to start, now the demons are waiting. They're thinking holding the tail side would be not so good. So seeing their hesitation, Lord simply went to the tail side and picked up the tail, and all the demigods joined him on the tail side, and the demons, they joined on the head side. Now, prior to this journey, the demons were very valiant looking and so forth. Very fair complexion with great, bodily features, very attractive. However, Vasuki you spit so much fire and smoke. And sometimes this distinction is very interesting even in geographical terms. As we can see in India, means because of the Himalayan ranges, those cold winds cannot come to the southeast area. And so people in India, they have the brown complexion, while people to the north of Himalayas have a fair complexion. Yes, it's not that everyone in India has dark complexion. Some, because of their genetic structure, also have fair complexion. So here, this is where the complexion of the demons becomes little dark brownish. And now as the chanting is to begin and the chanting starts, what happens? Because of the rotating movement, the Mandara mountain is sinking in because it has no support at the bottom. Lord, immediately understanding the situation, takes Kurma avatar, goes under and lifts the Mandara mountain, places it on his back. And now the chanting is going on. During chanting, various objects are appearing, various personalities are appearing. Please say Ucha Shava, horse appearing, Bali Maharaj takes that. We see Aravat appearing, Indra takes that. Rama Devi, goddess of fortune, appearing. She gets married to Lord Vishnu. And finally, Dhanvantari appears with the pot of nectar. And demons immediately, snatch that pot of nectar and they run away. Demigods are looking at Lord Vishnu. What do we do? So Lord Vishnu says, just have patience. He appears as Mohinamurti, attracts and entices all these demons and gives the nectar to the demigods while showing sidelong glances to the demons who are eagerly waiting. And of course, Bali Maharaj's uncle, he sees this and he sits in, dressed as demigod, sits on the side of the demigods. And as soon as he gets nectar on his both sides, one side is Surya Dev, who is known as Vivaswan, and on the side is Lord of the Moon, known as Soma. So both of them immediately recognize this guy is not a demigod. So Lord Vishnu, as soon as they inform that this is a demon, Lord Vishnu appears and with his Sudarshan, he chops off the head. What happens? Rahu is the head, and then the remaining part is there is Ketu. So Rahu Ketu appear. Lord asks, why did you take that? And he actually respond with a question. He said, when I had worked same way as the demigods, why shouldn't I be recipient of the fruits of the labor? And hearing this response, Lord Vishnu, he is pleased and he says, yes, you will have your space. And Lord Brahma gives him his space in this material universe, where he is the cause of causing disturbance to both sun and moon. Yes, the solar eclipse and lunar eclipse. They appear because of the effect of Rahu and Ketu, and they became part of the 9 grahas. Now, my dear devotees, today's verse addresses that Lord recognizes the state of the demigods as well as the demons because the mountain is sinking. It has no support. So he takes the form of Kurma. And today I would like to cover this important life lessons with the acronym Kurma, Kurma. So Lord is omnipotent, Lord is omniscient, and he knows all. So K is for Krishna knows and watches us. He is the super soul in everyone's heart, appearing as divided, but in reality, he is the one. So this is referring to the super soul, Shirodakshai Vishnu. And even though he appears divided, he is one. Let me give an example. Sometimes people think, how could they be divided in one? We know air is engulfing and has a whole stratosphere, the whole atmosphere around the earth. It's one atmosphere, but in different places, it has different influences and appears divided. You may close a room and there is air locked in that room, but that doesn't mean if you open it, it will spill out because there is air outside also. being part of the same element. It is existing, and because of the local influence, appears or is perceived differently. So Lord is present everywhere, and He understands the situation. He sees the obstruction, right? When Mandara mountain starts to sink, and He knew the solution, and He provides the solution. It was not that Lord has to think what the solution would be. The demigods and demons, they were disturbed, yes. Yet at the same time, Lord, as being compassionate Father, He understood what the solution. And one of the moral lesson and the life lesson that we can take is that we should have trust in the greater plan of Krishna. We should not blame Krishna for problems created by the misused desire, the issues, better to use the word. So we should turn to Krishna because He knows how to support us, just like He is there to support the demons and the demigods. That is a very important aspect. Just like we see in Vrindavan, when Indra caused torrential rain, he actually such samvartika clouds. These clouds are sent at the time of annihilation of this universe. And not the whole universe gets destroyed. The upper planes, plateaus, they are still intact, while the earthly planets, Bhu, Bhuva, Swarg, all these get destroyed. So here it is very nicely described that Lord Krishna, seeing that these clouds have come, and all the Vrajvasis, the residents of Vrajvasis, they come and say, Krishna, we are surrendered to you. The cows, the calves, the gopis, the gopas, the elderly gopas, Mother Yashoda, Nanda Baba, all they run to who? To Krishna. They just Krishna had just stopped in the yajna and he had engaged them in carrying out Govardhan, puja. And now Krishna, he knows the solution. He actually stopped in Indra yajna because he wanted to curb the arrogance of Indra. He wanted to curb the pride Indra was experiencing. Because he knew that Indra is hurting himself by being proud of his position. And so Lord Krishna, very simply, he lifts Govardhan Hill on his pinky of his left hand. And he says, you all come inside. And everybody is watching. And somebody could say, how could everyone, just move inside? But this is the love. They could see Krishna providing and they accepting it as a mercy. And they immediately took shelter of Krishna. They came under the Govardhan Hill, and Govardhan Hill expanded just like an umbrella. Umbrella, when you lift it up, it may not be so big. But when you open it, it suddenly expands. Similarly, Govardhan Hill, just by the pleasure of the touch of Lord Krishna, Govardhan Hill expands, covering whole of Vrindavan. And Vrindavan Vasis, they are very nicely arranged, they're nicely under Govardhan Hill. So Krishna knows and he provides. And so we can see how things are properly being carried out. So it's just like that in our lives. Sometimes when undesirable things, apparently undesirable things, they appear. My dear devotees, why did I say apparently? Because it is our perspective. Sometimes people, they lose their job and they're thinking, oh, such a bad thing has happened. How will I sustain myself? Actually, if we depend on Krishna's plan, Krishna is giving us a hint that you have a better opportunity than what you currently are working on. I have given you better capabilities to, pick up your skill, sharpen your skill, and then take on that better assignment that's coming your way. So sometimes what we think is a roadblock is not a roadblock. It's a stepping stone. I can tell you from my life itself, so many times I have seen one assignment ending and new one coming right after. And that assignment is actually better than the promotion I was expecting on the current assignment. So such things happen. Krishna arranges things very nicely in our lives. Yet our perception makes it look like that these are bad things. So every time we have an expectation, it will always lead to frustration. I have repeated this many times in the past. So we should be grateful to every event and everything that's happening in our life. Sometimes people, they have some bad experiences when, interacting with others. And in immature state, yes, in the early stage, it happens to everyone. As children, we fight and then we get upset with each other. We don't talk to each other. But there is a good lesson behind it. What's one lesson that we can take? Relationships take time. They need patience. They need caring. They need active listening. They need empathy, heart to heart connection. These are not something that you learn if everything is going well. Right? So these are the things that when life teaches us lessons, we should be a good learner. We should be good students. We should be learning from life. Krishna says, time I am devourer of all things. And I am time, he is saying. Destroys everything, but that destruction is not the end. It is preparation for a new beginning. So my dear devotees, understand that Lord Krishna is constantly supporting us with new beginnings. Sometimes people are looking at end, materialist. Again, everyone bows down to Krishna. Devotees bow down willingly. Materialists, non-devotees, they bow down unwillingly because Krishna appears to them as death. Well, the same thing, death is like the jaws of, of a lioness, let's just take. And the lioness is holding a mouse in its mouth as well as a kitten. The mouse is dreading death. Oh, it's already feeling tormented. While the kitten knows, mother is holding me, there cannot be any harm. And many times we have the tendency to think, I am doing this, thinking I am this body. And Krishna is smiling to himself. It's like, it's so nice. Yes, you are thinking in this way that you are doing this, right? And Krishna is saying, yes, yes, my dear devotee, very nice that you are thinking in this way. By the way, the body that you are thinking of has been rented to you by me. Ishvara sarvabhutanam hriday deshe arjuna tishtati brahmyan sarvabhutani rantrarudhani mayaya. Ishvara sarvabhutanam hriday deshe arjuna tishtati. So the super soul, Ishvara, he is residing in every sarvabhutanam, all living entities. Hrideshe. What's the place? A place of heart, in the heart. Arjuna Tishtati. Our Arjun, he is situated, the Super Soul is situated in the heart of every living entity. Brahmin Sarva Bhutan. And this living entity is wandering in this universe. Yantra Rudhani Maya. Yantra means the machine. Rudhani Maya, provided to or built and given by Maya, the material energy. So here we can see how we sometimes may be thinking that we are the doer, but we are only the desirer. And sometimes we are thinking we are getting rewarded and become happy. While in reality, all success comes from Krishna. And all great leaders know that it is we, everyone together, the five factors I'm referring to. Yes, in Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna talks about the doer. Now, the place where the endeavor has been performed, the endeavor itself, and the modes. And fifth one is the most important, the super soul. All are there, but it is the super soul who is the substance, who is the real cause of all success. And so, similarly, a leader takes with along the whole team, right? They say that, yes, the organization, the team has succeeded. But when it comes to failure, what do materialists do? They try to do blame game. They said the environment wasn't right. This person didn't do well. That other department wasn't doing the right thing. They always look at, mistakes and point those mistakes to others, not realizing every time you point finger to other, three are pointing back at you. So we have to be very practical in life and be ready to own our mistakes. A great leader knows that every time something goes wrong, there is a lesson to be learned. It is I who have to learn my part to be able to overcome this. And Lord Krishna constantly wants to remind us who's the real doer. So that's why in our life we see many mistakes happening, many failures. But devotees, they smile when they see failures. What does Queen Kunti's prayer say? She is saying that, my dear Krishna, keep sending these impediments one after another so that we get your darshan, we think of you. दुख में सुमिरन सब करे सुख में करे ना कोई जो सुख में सुमिरन करे दुख काहे को होय. Kabirdas ji, he has said this very nicely. In other words, that when there is bad times, tough times, people are remembering Lord. And those who are very ignorant, completely in the mode of ignorance, they're blaming Lord. They're blaming God. But at the same time, we should understand that if we are constantly grateful for all the good things happening, we should also be grateful for all the bad things happening, because in reality, the good and bad is a duality, which is in the material modes. In reality, there is nothing bad happening. When you get sick, you go to the doctor gives you really bad tasting medicine, and you don't want to drink this, but you have to take the medicine to get cured. Sometimes you have serious illness and the doctor says, I have to perform an operation. He's gonna cut open your body. Well, it's not that he is against you, he's hurting you, he's actually trying to cure you. Similarly, Krishna as an expert surgeon is curing us. But some who are in the mode of ignorance thinking that he is hurting us, but he never hurts. A loving father cannot hurt. So Krishna knows and yet he provides. That's key. Now we have to understand that under every burden, right? U is for underneath. Every burden is Krishna's support. Now, when the Mandara mountain had no support, Lord came under and he supported it. So Lord took that wonderful form of a giant tortoise. He entered the water and lifted the Mandara mountain, right? And from within and from without. And also we see that Lord appears on the summit of the mountain and enters the demigods, demons, and Vasuki to encourage and empower this journey. Why is he encouraging everyone? So that they don't lose hope. Sometimes we also need encouragement, my dear devotees. We all need coaches in our life, mentors in our life. And it's the best thing if you have a mentor available who's pointing. Mentor's job is not to validate what you're doing right. Mentor's job is to violate and identify what you're doing wrong. Violate this, validation aspect and says, you are doing this wrong. You should do it this way. That helps us grow. We have to understand that those observations are constructive feedback. So again, yet at the same time, my dear devotees, it's important for us to give constructive feedback, not destructive feedback. We should be very much looking from the perspective that things are coming our way to help us improve. And we should always be following the instructions of our mentor, of our guides, of our gurus, of the acharyas. So again, we have so many sources. We have Sadhu Guru in Shastra, yes. The sadhus, the devotees, they help us. And Shastra, the scriptures, they help us. So we have to, truly take to this mercy that Lord is providing us support. He is there, right? Every burden that we are holding, who is holding us? Lord Krishna is holding us. And this is also very important because this is not when we talk about, be grateful to the message of your bad news, the messenger. Don't shoot the messenger. If somebody becomes the actor of your bad karma and causes some difficulty in your life, there's a tendency to become bitter towards such person. But that's not, we should be grateful for such person, that this person is helping us overcome the reactions, the of the sinful activities, the impious activities we have performed. And so we should be grateful for everyone and everything in our lives. Yet at the same time, we more grateful for someone who is guiding us, someone who is providing us that path forward in our spiritual journey. And that's why we always seek blessings from the acharyas, from the mentors, so that we can continue to progress. Why? Sometimes people say, why do I have to do this? Because in their words, in their guidance, they empower us to perform great feats, great actions moving forward. So here, underneath everything, Lord Krishna is supporting us. So he is the one picking us up from where we are. We have to just recognize that. And the third letter, R, is for responsibility, not blame. We talked about this, that when we are philosophically mature, as we mature through time, we understand that everything is happening for a purpose. And we should not be careless in saying, Krishna created all these issues in my life. He created all these blocks, roadblocks in my life. He is causing me to fall down. No. Uh, Lord is not arbitrary or cruel in nature. He is a compassionate Father. And his causeless mercy. So, causeless, which means there is no cause. There is no, because a father loves his children without having to have a cause. Sometimes it's very interesting that a baby is crying and sometimes hitting everyone, and father still picks up, and father sometimes gets a couple of punches as well in the process. But he never becomes angry that, oh, you punched me, I'll punch you back. No, he knows the baby is, not feeling comfortable. Baby is upset. So, parents have this amazing causeless mercy towards their children, because even that gives pleasure. When the mothers, they're expecting the babies are kicking. Somebody is kicking you from outside, how would you feel? You usually become like, how dare you kick me? But the baby is constantly kicking and the mother is rejoicing. Oh, see, the baby is kicking, the baby is kicking. So that's a sweet exchange happening. We can see how life takes a different turn. The perspective changes based on one's role, based on one's priority. So Lord has created, He supervises this system of material universe. Devi Hesha Gurumai Mama Maya Duratyaya. Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that Devi here Esha and Gurumai, this material energy of mind is made of the modes of material nature, so three modes of material nature, mode of passion, Sattva Guna, mode of passion, Rajaguna, mode of ignorance, Tamaguna. Mama Maya Duratyaya, this material of manager's mind is very difficult to overcome. If you try to overcome on our own strength, it's not possible. Just like the demigods and demons, they couldn't even pick up together the Mandara mountain. That was not possible for them. They couldn't stop Mandara mountain from sinking and be able to lift. Lord had to come and support it. So we have to understand things with proper perspective and take responsibility for our actions and not blame others. And all great leaders know that when there is something that goes on, they own it instead of putting it to someone else. And they do the right thing moving forward. So here we are saying that this Deviesha Gurumi, Bom Maya Duratya, Ma Meviye Prapadyante Maya Metam Tarantite. So the second line of this Bhagavad Gita verse says that those who surrender unto me, those who are my devotees, they can easily cross over it. Why? Not that Lord has, given some favorism to them. No, because they have surrendered unto the, Lord, which is to obey Lord's instructions. They can perform great feats. And one of the important lessons that we can take is Lord has endowed each one of us with enough capabilities, with enough abilities to be able to cross over this ocean of material nature. Yet at the same time, those qualities only become manifested when we are in the mood of surrender and believing that, yes, Lord has given me this ability. Let me bring those abilities out and pray for Lord's mercy to be able to cross over. But it may happen that sometimes on the first attempt we may not cross, second attempt we may not cross, third attempt we may not cross. We all heard about the story of Prithviraj Chauhan. When he was defeated, he ran with his family and he was hiding in a cave. And he saw that a spider was trying to climb up, but then it would fall down. He tried climbing up again. It fell down. 6 times it tried, and finally, seventh time it was able to climb up to go to the ceiling. What's the lesson? He said, try and try again till you succeed. That's what we should be doing. But at the same time, having a mentor, having a coach, having a guide, having an acharya who's providing us clear insight into what our capabilities are is also very important. Otherwise, we may be, banging our head against the wrong wall, realizing that the door is right behind us, and we could have easily escaped from this material world appearing like a jail or a room. So we have to have proper guidance. And that's why sometimes it's very difficult for people to accept defeat, and they like to blame others, not take the responsibility, not take the responsibility of even accepting a mentor, not accepting a acharya. They say, why should I surrender to another human being? I think I'm a great human being. And this is another snare of Maya, because Maya makes everyone think that they are a great boon to humanity. So in reality, we have our own journeys where we are following the acharyas and set the examples and learn from our life. We cannot be better than others, but we can be better version of ourselves every single day. And that's an important lesson to take. In this particular case, we have to understand that we are responsible for our actions. We are responsible for our choices. And our choices helping us become better version of ourselves from yesterday, or causing us to become worse version than yesterday. Very small real life incident has been discussed in the past that we have discussed, that there were twin brothers. Their father was a drunkard. When they grew up, one brother ended up becoming a drunkard, another became a very high CEO official, very rich person, very nice family and everything, while the other brother was, living in ruins, and he was a big drunkard, and he had no family. Everyone had left him. Everyone deserted. So some, newspaper folks, they approached, they interviewed. They approached first the poor one, and they said, "Why are you so poor?" And this one said, my father was a drunkard, so I became a drunkard. And so my father had a ruined life, and now my life is ruined because of that. He blamed his father for all the things that were going bad in his life. Then they approached the other, twin, and they said, how come your brother is in this state, and you are so rich and so well settled in life? What's the secret? And so he simply stated, my father was a drunkard. They said, wait a minute, same line. How could it have a different ending? He said, so I learned that being a drunkard, it can ruin your life. So I immediately decided never to touch liquor, never to have an intoxication in my life. And I have to be responsible for the choices I make. He made the wrong choice, so his life was ruined. And I made the right choice, so my life is all settled. But at the same time, the important lesson is that he did not just give up there. He continued to make a better version of himself every day. So he, of course, by the mercy of the Lord, being grateful to the Lord and to the coaches and mentors in his life, he progressed further, far and wide. So that is responsibility. We all have to take responsibility for the actions we take. We all have to take responsibility for the choices we make and not blame others, because Lord has given us enough hints in our life. We see in Mathura, right? The example helps us here, where, Akrur, he traveled from Mathura to Vrindavan. Under whose order? Kamsa's order, demon's order, right? But his consciousness was not Kamsa centered. His consciousness was not aligned with Kamsa. He meditated on Krishna throughout, and Balaram along with his journey. He was thinking, oh, my such a good fortune that I will get to see Lord Krishna and Lord Balram. And later he informed Krishna and Balram of Kamsa's plan. And he saw a divine vision in the Yamuna lake, Lake of Yamuna, where Lord has previously shown that vision of Vaikuntha Lok to the residents of Vrindavan. So he got the same vision and he got further assurance that Lord is here to provide me the support. So the external situation was politically dangerous, but Akrur's heart remained directed toward Krishna. So this is responsibility without blame. He did not pretend danger was not there. He did not become paralyzed by it. He moved through it with remembrance. Now, I would like to encourage you to share in the chat any other personality that you have seen going through these kind of scenarios. While I share with you another personality who actually went through a similar scenario, Vibhishan, the younger brother of Ravan. He was a great devotee of the Lord when he was living in Lanka. When Hanuman, he entered Lanka, he was seeing all these places of, um, fulfilling lusty desires and all that, but he saw a place, a house, a residence where he saw Tulsi in the garden, so, in the front yard. He was surprised that, this Tulsi, somebody worships Tulsi. And then he got to meet Vibhishan and he saw this is a great devotee of Lord Ram who's living in Lanka. And by giving him the hint, he gave Hanuman the hint that, Sita Mata is at Ashok Vatika. And Hanuman was able to go. So when Hanuman burned whole of Lanka, there were only two places he didn't burn. One was Ashok Vatika because Mother Sita was there. And second one was Vibhishan's residence because Vibhishan lived there. So here we see the example. And even though Vibhishan was the younger brother, he tried to provide the best guidance to his eldest brother, Ravan. He said, don't fight with Ram. Take his shelter. Return Sita. And Ravan, hearing these statements, became angry and threw him out. And so Vibhishan, he immediately went and took shelter of Lord Ram. And at that time, Sugriva and other generals of his army, the Vanar Sena, the monkey army, they were warning Ram, they were cautioning Ram that this person is Ravan's younger brother, don't trust him. So much so that some were even suggesting, kill him now. But Ram said, if someone has taken shelter, has taken my shelter, then I would never turn him away. That is the compassionate father. That's Krishna in the role of Ram, carrying out this wonderful example, showing us that we should be compassionate towards others. Relationships, they take hard work. Yet at the same time, we should take responsibility for the choices we make. Now, the fourth letter in Kurma, K-U-R-M. M is for mercy, comes through the obstacle. So I started with this, yes, that the sinking of Mandara mountain looked like failure. But it became the doorway for Kurma avatar, another avatar of the Lord, where he is showing his mercy. So without the sinking, we will not have the revelation of the Lord becoming the foundation. So this is showing us in our life also the foundation. This very body that we have received is because of Lord's mercy. The human birth we have received is because of Lord's mercy. It is said in the Shastra and the scriptures that we are not qualified to receive the human birth. But Lord is so merciful that he gives us the opportunity to have human birth so that we can overcome this material ocean and go back home, back to Godhead. Or be transcendently situated, in other words. So in Dwarka Leela, Rukmini's crisis was there. What was the crisis? It looked impossible for her to avoid the situation. Her brother Rukmini wanted to marry her to Shishupal. And she had heard such wonderful narration. She had only heard, she had never seen Krishna, from sage Narad and other sages, that in her heart of heart she had accepted Lord Krishna to be her husband. And so she sent a letter through a Brahmana to Krishna, not knowing if Krishna would get the letter in time, not knowing if he would be agreeable to her proposal, because he had never seen Rukmini. He had never heard about her. And he might find it very strange. Sometimes a young man comes to know a young girl heard about him and wants to marry him, would be like, what? I do not know what that girl is like. And she was having so many doubts. And she wrote all those doubts in a letter to Krishna. And she says, my dear Krishna, I'm fully surrendered to you. Please, come and take me away. I want to be your wife. And Lord Krishna, what did he do? He appeared and he accepted Rukmini as his wife, right? So she was supposed to be married to Shishupal against her desire. Now, my dear devotees, why did this pastime happen? Acharyas also reveal some secret. What had happened in Ramayana? Ravan had come dressed as a sage, and he, against the desire of Sita Mata, had abducted her and taken her to Lanka. So this Ravan has now appeared in this pastime as Shishupal. He is also going to marry someone, at least in Ramayana, Ram and Sita, they were already married. Here, he was not yet married, and that pastime has to finish the cycle. So Lord Krishna appears and takes his would-be wife as per her desire, not as per his desire. Right? So again, Lord is performing it for the pleasure of Rukmini. And this is such an interesting pastime where the crisis did not mean Krishna was absent. It became the stage for Krishna's rescue. So again, this is how devotees learn to read life differently. So we do not glorify suffering, but we do search for Krishna's mercy within it. It's not that, oh, somebody is having a hard time and you go and they say, my dear Prabhu, I'm having such a hard time. And you say, oh, this is Krishna's mercy. The person may say, you want some mercy, Prabhu? So that may be firing back at us. So we have to be very careful when we approach. We should show empathy, compassion towards their current state. We should help them understand that, yes, it is so sad that you're feeling that way. We should go along while help them see greater things and help them prepare. So we as friends should give a shoulder, not just words, but we should really be supporting in the hard times that the other person is feeling, not knowing that they are actually going through this phase of life, overcoming some of the sinful reactions or some of the hard things that they had done in the past. It's just something that's coming back, but it should not be taken as a negative. But then we have to be compassionate towards others, but hard with ourselves. And what's the tendency? Generally, people are harsh with others and soft with themselves. So that this material mindset, we should be having the devotional mindset, the spiritual mindset. And finally, my dear devotees, we are at A, the fifth and the last letter, last but not the least. A is advance by accepting Krishna's arrangement. I have my plan. His Holiness Japataka Maharaj, he is in critical state currently. He is admitted to Dallas Temple. And there is something very important he says. I have my plan, you have your plan. And then Krishna has his plan. Whose plan will actually be held at the end? Krishna's plan, of course. Because Bhattira is his maidservant. So she will perform whatever Krishna desires. Actually, she is the maidservant of the maidservant of the maidservant. So many dasanu das bhav. Even comes in the case of Bhattira. She is the maidservant of Yogamaya. Vrinda Devi is the, from that particular perspective, she arranges, Yogamaya arranges all the pastimes for Krishna's pleasure. And Mahamaya, the material energy, is performing the similar activities. And sometimes we think she is performing it for our pleasure. No, she is not performing for our pleasure. She is acting as a referee to test how much surrender have we attained to Lord Krishna's lotus feet. And we have to accept Lord Krishna's plan. And my dear devotees, when we look from that perspective, right, we see that the demigods and demons, they are rejoicing that the Mandara mountain has lifted. Yet at the same time, they agreed. They were enlivened, they were encouraged to begin churning again. They didn't say, oh, if you can just lift it, why can't you just churn it as well? They still performed their activities. They continue to do their part. And similarly, in Chaitanya Chaitamrita, we see Sanatan Goswami, he is imprisoned by Nawab Hussain Shah. And it could look like a complete obstruction to his plans to join Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission, the Sankirtan movement. Yet by Krishna's arrangement, right, he was released. He traveled with difficulty. Again, there was a servant who was sent, and this servant still carried some gold coins when he was told not to. So, but finally, by Lord's arrangement, he reached Lord Chaitanya, who instructed him deeply in Sambandha Jnana, the relationship. Jivera Surupaya Krishnera Nityadas, Krishnera Tathastha Shakti Veda Veda Prakash. That we living entities are eternal servant, Nityadas. That is our nature, that is our dharma, that is who we are. And we have to engage in Lord's service. He is the master. So here we see what is Kurma, the acronym teaches us today, my dear devotees. Kurma teaches that the K is for Krishna knows before we know it. And U is to underneath every sincere burden is Krishna's support. R is responsibility is better than blaming others. And M is mercy, it often comes through the obstacle. And A is accept Krishna's arrangement and advance. So this is not fanaticism, it is not laziness, it is not blaming Krishna or others. It is a mature devotional intelligence. We accept responsibility for our choices. We reject lust, anger, and greed because these are the three gates to hell. And stop worshipping chance, right? Luck. Don't depend on luck and depend on the Lord who sustains all efforts in our life and align with His will, with His arrangement. And my dear devotees, when Mandara mountain sank, the Lord did not abandon the churning. When our efforts sink, Krishna does not abandon us, but He may teach us that strength alone is not enough. Planning alone is not enough. Even the cooperation alone is not enough. And ambition, yes, we all have different ambitions, we have different priorities. They are not enough. The mountain needs a foundation. The heart needs Krishna. Therefore, when life feels heavy, we do not merely ask, why did this happen to us? We ask, where is Krishna's support? What responsibility must we accept? What desire must be purified? And how can we continue serving? That is Krishna consciousness. The Lord knows, the Lord sustains. My dear devotees, the Lord, He empowers, and by His causeless mercy, even a sinking mountain can become the place where the faith is lifted. Hare Krishna devotees, with these lessons that we can take to our life, we can actually be more happy, more satisfied, and more encouraged to do our part and let everything else just follow. We cannot control success or failure, but what we can control is the choices we make, the actions we take. Hare Krishna. Kantra Srimadbhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Bhagavad ki jai. Anant Koti Vaishnava Vind ki jai. Nitai Go Premanande. Hari Hari Bol. Devi, would you like to add anything?
Hare Krishna, thank you for the very insightful class loaded with practical lessons and applications. So, dear devotees, there are a few practical applications I would like to share with you all. We can take inspiration not to, look after blaming. Actually, we can replace the blame with reflection. That is, Prabhuji was talking about when we come across obstacles or adversities. So instead of immediately asking, why is this happening to me? We can reflect, what is Krishna teaching me through this situation? And this single shift transforms our frustrations into areas of growth. Then another wonderful insight I got was we can practice gratitude for any kind of invisible support. So, for example, every day we can identify at least three things we take granted for. For example, we get air, we get sunlight, we get water, our health, our intelligence, family, devotees. There are so many things. There are scriptures we read, there are opportunities to serve. They are all forms of Krishna's support beneath our Mandara mountains,
Yeah.
right? So we can learn to practice gratitude. And now, then, another way is, let us distinguish responsibility from guilt. Let us take responsibility for choices without becoming discouraged. And our spiritual journey is not about, feeling guilty or self condemnation, but about corrective action. I have seen many times when it is identified someone did something incorrectly, they go into the loop of apologizing rather
Yes.
than trying to fix it promptly and not to repeat same mistakes again. And then we all hear about the three gates, right? Lust, anger, greed. So whenever strong emotions arise, we can pray that we can think on the lines that, are these gates of lust, anger, greed, are they influencing us in any way? And so in this way, many big problems become smaller when these three influences are recognized. And lastly, I want to quickly mention that let us continue churning. There was a nice acronym, Kurma, Kurma. Prabhuji elaborated, and I won't go over it again, but um, so these talks which are presented, they are loaded on our YouTube channel, and those of you who want to revisit it, and Monica Mataji prepares very nice summary also, she puts in the notes there, so you can refer to that. So the last point, let us continue churning. So just like demigods, in this beautiful story, in this pastime we heard, the demigods did not stop when the mountain Mandara sank. It was placed on
Yes.
the back, on the top of
Because
Kurma,
God
the
came, yeah.
turtle
That's what it is.
incarnation.
Yes.
So similarly, let us continue put our efforts in chanting, serving, reading, studying, and finding sadhu sangha, even when results seem delayed. So in this way, our steadiness and consistent effort invites uh, Guru's mercy, Krishna's mercy. So,
Hare
let's
Krishna.
continue with our reflections. And this is, I think, the heart of this Kurma Leela.
Yes.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. For the recovery of Japataka Maharaj, I would like you to join us in chanting the holy name 3 times. Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare
Hare
Rama, Hare Rama, Rama
Rama,
Rama, Hare
Hare
Hare.
Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you very much, devotees. And today is Pandav Nijala Ekadashi, which reminded me of an interesting incident. Once we saw a web page that said all great recipes for Ekadashi, and it actually had a link on Pandav Nijala Ekadashi. So we clicked on that link and came to know, it says scroll down to these amazing recipes. After scrolling down for like really long time, it said, what do you mean about recipes? Pandav Nirjala. Nirjala means you can't even have water. So the only recipe today is chanting of the holy name and Krishna Katha. Yes, Kirtan, and that is the feasting for today. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for joining us. Kantha Srimadbhagavatam ki jai once again. And you have a wonderful week in Krishna consciousness. And have wonderful Pandav Nijala Ekadashi.
Thank you, Sarangi Mataji and Leela Shakti Mataji. We are reading your comments. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Bol.
Om Tat Sat.